Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of history. One of the bloodiest piece of Jamaica's history that very few people even know about or even understand the gravity of it. It's a situation in which officially 8 people died, but unofficially 12 people had actually died. It's worse than the Green Bay massacre. It's worse than what they had called the Gold Street massacre. And this is an incident in which Anthony Tingle, better known as Starky, or some people call him General Starky, this is telling how he died. And now, before I even tell you exactly how he died, I have to put it in context. So I'm going to have to give you what was happening in Jamaica at the time, the situation as it existed, and what led up to his death. Well, after the death, as I said in a previous video, after the death of Boy and Feathermap, things took a turn because these Boy and Feathermap came out of the southern St. Andrew at the time, which was at the time being run by Tony Spaldings. And I must say, Anthony Michael Spaldings, who was the MP for that constituency at the time, that southern St. Andrew constituency contained at least half of all the murderers, the political thugs in the entire island. Put together, they were in southern St. Andrew. Albeit, they mostly go over into southwestern St. Andrew, which is controlled by Portia Simpson, or they sometimes go into central Kingston, which was controlled by Michael Manley. So they traverse between those 3 constituencies mostly, but basically this was the environment in which Anthony Tingle lived. Now, after they died in 1975, those 2 men, Feathermap and Burry Boy, there was a space left for a chief bloodthirsty murderer to come up. And that person who seemed to came up and was filtered out to the top was Anthony Tingle, because he was like a person who just killed for fun. And he was a political activist, so he was one of those who would go around and burn down houses, kill people in their sleep, and lay them out on train line till the following morning and all of that. Right? So he took over the leadership, became the main political thug in southern St. Andrew. He had a sidekick that was known as Hutch. At first they called him Hutch because he was Starky, and at the time there was a movie and television. Oh, we got the name Starky, At the time there was a movie and television there in the 70s called Starky and Hutch. And he wanted to be Starky because he considered himself a bad man, and as far as he's concerned, he's a celebrity bad man. And he had this guy that he had beside him called Tony Welch. And Tony Welch at first was called Hutch because he probably dirtied more men than Starky. But at the same time, he didn't want to be seen as a sidekick because Starky was like the main character, and Tony Welch wanted to be his own man. He didn't want to be sidekick for anybody. So Starky took on the name, and they call it Starky. Them just call it Starky for him, and Welch dropped the Hutch thing and became his own man. But they still operated together. They never left each other. They were a team. And Starky, how he mostly sneak up on people and kill them was to dress like a woman. He dressed like a woman and go around and sneak up on people and kill them. So that was his way of doing it. Now, Tony Welch, Starky, and Bucky Marshall, who we call Aston Thompson, who controlled Matches Lane, or Matthews Lane, they call it Matches Lane, they teamed together and they worked the whole circuit between southern St. Andrews, southwest St. Andrews, and central Kingston. And those were their stamping ground for murders. One of the greatest incidents that involved Starky was when they had that peace treaty where at the National Stadium where Bob Marley held up both the hand of Edward Seaga and Michael Manley. War broke out there because Starky didn't want no peace, because if there was peace, he wouldn't have nobody to kill. And he, just to instigate the war and to cause the peace to break down, he didn't walk with a gun to the stadium, but what he did, he knifed 3 men to death on at the premises where the peace treaty and meeting and stage show was being held at the National Stadium. So he was that type of a person. So he was not just a gunman, he was also a knife man. And that's what he did, caused the peace treaty to break down before it could even begin. At that time, Starky and Tony Welch, they would wage battle against some laborites from Tivoli Gardens and from Rima. That gang from Rima was called Rima 13. And it contains some strong laborite killers too. Curly Locks, Bam Bam, Coolie Paul, Fisherman, Natty Chris, and a guy called Earl Tech Life. Who remember Earl Tech Life? Why you think them call him Earl Tech Life? Because him go preach on the pulpit and was no altar boy? No. So we are say laborite did have with them set a real bloodthirsty men too. But we go into that another time. Today is about Starky. In 1978, Starky fled from Jamaica. Things were getting too hot for him, and he didn't want to go to prison for all those crimes he was committing. So he fled the island and turned up in Canada. You know, he used all the political contacts that he had, and he ended up in Canada. And when he got there, within 3 days, he was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder and other charges. And he was sentenced in a Toronto court to 4 years imprisonment at hard labor. And he returned in July of 1980 after he was released and deported back to Jamaica. And he came back at a time when he could easily murder people and get away with it, because he came back just in the heat of the general elections that was leading up to the 1980 October general election. He came back in July and he spent the next 4 months wreaking havoc in all the places, including Rima and Tivoli. But here is what I'm going to do now, after he was released. Before he behaved himself, him and some of him thugs went to a Track Price Plus betting shop and rob it. This is a man who, if him got to spoil the Tony Sparlings and say him hungry, he will get money. But he didn't want money so easy. It was just not how he was made up. And he went to a Track Price Plus betting shop on Lincoln Crescent, which is right in his own gardens. And that was in May of 1981. And he robbed it. And after he robbed it, he killed the clerk. The person in the betting shop, the lady who controlled the betting shop, he killed her. And believe me, the other junglist, he's a junglist, you know. And you can see an innocent woman run a betting shop and you can rob her when they didn't have to and kill her. And the junglist decides, no man, this is too much. And what they did, they find 2 of him thugs. Within hours, them find one of him thug and them carry him right back to the piazza of the betting shop and just tried him and executed him right there. And another one, within hours they find another one who was involved and dispatched him same way and the paiser of the betting shop. When Starky hear that, him run away now and went to live in Jonestown. And in Jonestown now, he decided that he have a certain amount of security. So he decides that now he would be safe from the junglist. And to an extent he was. But here is what now. This is what now leading up to the night of his death. Because within a month after that betting shop incident, General Starky met his Waterloo. Him keep a big dance, him put on a big dance at 32 Love Street in Jonestown. And believe me, at that time, everybody want to dance with General Starky there because he was a celebrity. He was a bad man and an old murderer, but he was a celebrity. And when him put on dance, a lot of people is going to turn up. And that night when the dance was on, there's a set who used to live back in the 70s and 80s, 70s rather, would know of this set, a set called Socialist Roots Hi-Fi. And it was Socialist Roots Hi-Fi. It was the biggest. There were the two big sets in Jamaica at the time. One was Channel 1 and the other one was Socialist Roots Hi-Fi. Two of the most celebrated sound systems and largest at the time. What happened was, present at the dance, enough celebrity come down because enough celebrity follow Socialist Roots Hi-Fi. And hold on, when I talk about celebrity, I'm talking about singers and DJs and dub poets. Because at the time, virtually all singers and dub poets and DJs were pro-PNP in those days. I can say it straight. Nearly every single one of them was pro-PNP. Because at the time, at that night, there was Brent Dow, was passed through. They said Yellow Man passed through, Leroy Smart, Peter Metro, Michael Smith, and Ika Mouse. Now, who remember Michael Smith? Michael Smith was this guy who do this thing called Me Can't Believe It. Me say Me Can't Believe It. Well, that Michael Smith was there. Look up that thing on YouTube. Lovely poem. Michael Smith. Anyway, they were there, and after the dance finished about in the 2 a.m. And after the dance, what happened is that some of the men them go inside at the premises, same place at 32 Love Street, and go in and go just decide them are going to sleep until daylight. Them now move. They had guns in there. They had guns in there with them. But, just for protection. They won't go after anybody on that night. But the place became surrounded by Eradication Squad. Now, some of you might have heard of Eradication Squad. But I was around during the 1980s when Eradication Squad was doing them thing, and trust me, it is the worst or probably the most successful death squad that Jamaica have ever had. And this was a death squad by every meaning of the word. They go after you, they don't carry anybody alive, they don't arrest people. Their job is to just, once your name turn up on a list, that's it, you are done. And Eradication Squad came, over 30 police in several vehicles, and they surrounded the entire premises. The only person on that premises who lived was a man named Ika Mouse, because he didn't leave at the time. He didn't drive a car, and he didn't want to go there because he wasn't from Jonestown. And what happened is that he decided to stay on the premises until daylight. But what happened was that he wasn't sleeping. So he was outside catching some cool breeze because he didn't want to be in the place packed up with too much man. And when him look, police bust through the gate and come in. And when them come in, one of the police back him down with a Uzi and say, who you? Who you? And him ball out. I mean name Ika Mouse. I mean name Ika Mouse. I mean name Ika Mouse. At that time, Ika Mouse and Yellow Man was like the two top most singers in a 1980. Ika Mouse and Yellow Man. So basically, if I'm saying, I mean name Ika Mouse, they say, you sure? I know you name so. I know you name so. Because that time the police them come in now enough, and so on the place. And ready to kill him, And I'm saying, how we are going to know say you name Ika Mouse? Because I'm telling him right name, but them don't know him right name. But them wouldn't like to kill Ika Mouse. It a go look bad upon them. So, they say, how we are going to know? And my man, Ika Mouse, him just bust out. Bang, bang, get a 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 boy. And them say, all right, true. Are you name Ika Mouse? All right, sit down yourself. And then put him to sit down on the ground. And a man with a Uzi stand up over him so. And just say, don't move. And the rest of them go in there. And when them go in there, all them here throughout the premises. And just gunshot. Shoot out. Shots were firing from both inside and outside. And police surrounded us, firing in through windows and through doors and through every crevice and every hole, every entrance and exit. And it went on for about over 15 minutes. And then when the police went in, there was still sporadic fire. And afterwards, according to Ika Mouse, he said he saw them take out, he counted 11 bodies. Because they had even brought a pickup and they piled the bodies on top of each other. They just throw them in and pile them. And the blood was just running out onto the ground of the truck. Everybody was expired. Everybody in the house. Among those in the house was a 15-year-old youth. 15. I think if he wasn't 15, he was 14. But it came in the paper that there was one young youth. I think he was 14 or 15. And he was also dirtied. Yeah, man. Them never make him escape. And in all honesty, I honestly believe that the police did the right thing by brushing that 14-year-old. Yes. Why you do in a bad man company? You should have tied up on your mother drawers waist. Your mother should have take out your mother and dirt her too. Why she have a picnic who out a dance till him all sleep out with a hole in a room full of bag of man? Him deserve why him get, because he was either a gunman or a wannabe gunman. Either way, I think the Eradication Squad that day, by just dirting him alone, the country saved at least 10 innocent lives. So if he never take life already, which he probably did, because most of them gunmen start killed from them 10, 12, 13. So that 15 or 14-year-old probably has taken life before. And if he hadn't, he would eventually do it. Dirt him. I agree. After that, hear what came out of that incident. From that sound, lockdown, on that day, the 1st of June, 1981, that sound never played again. Because they realized that the set, because of its name, would likely be targeted by the Eradication Squad again. And after this massacre, they just didn't want to take the chance. And that set was disbanded. At the time when Starky died, he was only 26 years old. People who did own that set, they went on a few years later to form another set called Sturgab. Who remembers Sturgab? Sturgab, which was based in Waterhouse. So, that is the story of how the massacre at 32 Love Street took place. So guys, thank you for watching. Like, share, leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.